Girl does not autosave. When visible, use the cogwheel icon to save, load, or quit the game, which is this thing down here. Remember to save frequently and prior to important events or decisions. Load these save files should you wish to revisit them. Nope, here we go. Morph Girl. Monday. Oh, from what I remember, this game has a lot of me speaking, so prepare yourselves. My name is Alana Pierce. On Friday, it will have been a year since the death of my wife, Rebecca. Since then, my life has been one of tedium and monotonous routine. I work an underpaid office job at a failing insurance company. I don't have any friends, and I rarely leave the house. And in just a few days, everything is going to change. Same. Same. Hey, okay. Okay, bro. Ooh, spoopy. Rebecca was a writer. Her reluctance to find real work put a strain on both our finances and our relationship. During an argument over our accumulating debt, Rebecca suffered a seizure. She was quickly diagnosed with terminal brain cancer. She died 9 months later. Ew, instant coffee, that's disgusting. Just make real coffee, come on. Oof. Oof. Yeah, you're looking at it because it's nasty. Every day I watch her favorite movies, read her journals and her short stories. What started out as a means to move on quickly became a routine that I couldn't escape. There is little to my life outside of what I have left of Rebecca. Okay. Spoop. Spoopity spoopity spoopity. I very quickly began to underperform at work. My boss was very understanding, but as the company started to lose money, coworkers began to resent me for the work I could not do. I was quickly relegated to my own office. Coworkers make hateful comments and drop hints about my supposed job security whenever I talk to them. I try not to talk to anybody. Look at those nails. Jesus. Hello. Okay. We just stared at pictures. People tell me that I need to move on and get over Rebecca's death. I don't want to. I can't. So I won't. Okay, hey, that's your prerogative, Karen. You do whatever you want, Karens. I. It's been 5 months since Rebecca was diagnosed. Breathing is becoming difficult for her. Movement is an almost Herculean task now. While her doctors say that we still have options, Rebecca is beginning to refuse further treatment. She wants to travel. Okay. She wants to travel the world before she dies, see all that she can while she can. She's giving up. I don't want her to. She's tired. Too tired for optimism, too tired for treatment. She's tired of living. Okay. We argue constantly over the continuation of her treatment. She only has months left if she doesn't. She's getting visibly weaker with every passing day. She can barely walk, let alone travel the world. It would kill her. Rebecca knows all of this. She doesn't want to be miserable anymore. She wants the both of us to spend the rest of her life in some exotic country to elope from her treatment with money we do not have, with time she doesn't have. I mean, she's gonna die, right? I mean, like, I tell Rebecca that we can go wherever she wants. I say we can afford it. When she gets better, we will go traveling, but right now she needs something to look forward to. Anything to be happy about. Rebecca's initially enthusiastic, talking and incessantly discussing where and when we might go. Eventually, she stops. Oh man. Weeks go by, we don't go anywhere. She realizes that we can't actually afford it, that I wouldn't let her go if we could. She realizes that I lied to her. I never see her happy again. Great. Great. Hmm. Just a few days until the anniversary of Rebecca's death. I'm not ready for it. Ooh, Tuesday. Taco Tuesday. Boobs. Every day goes by the same as the last. Hmm. I don't know if it's guilt, loyalty, or just fear that compels me to stay put. How can I have happiness when I denied her the same? Hmm. Rebecca wants me to read some of her book, on account that I never have before. I've always condemned her choice to focus on writing as opposed to pursuing legitimate employment. Her writing has always been a source of major contention between us. She wants to know what I think of it, before that's no longer possible. I don't know what to say. She's desperate for me to read it, despite prior altercations. This makes me feel angry and a little bit guilty. Despite everything, she still insists that her writing career is important to her, the very pursuit that has jeopardized our home, financial security, and our marriage for years. I don't want to encourage her, but it's her passion. She's literally going to die. Just tell her that she will. I tell Rebecca that I will read it. It's a collection of short horror stories. I finished them all in just a few days. They're good, really good. Rebecca's university grades were relatively poor, but she was always highly regarded for her fiction writing. She's really talented. I feel guilty. Only now that she's dying have I even bothered to read any of her work. All these years I've kept Rebecca from her writing aspirations, and now she really may never reach them. When she asks if I'd read it, I'm too embarrassed, ashamed to admit any of this to her. I tell her that I've been busy. Why wouldn't you just tell her you read them? She never asks again. Okay, cool. I often think, oh man, I often think that I would do anything to get Rebecca back. Would I? I don't know, would you? Wednesday. Get your alarm, Kevin, please. Thank you. I refuse to get on with my life, and yet I still expect it to change. Uh-huh. It's almost as though I were waiting for something. The pizza guy? Girl, clean that shower. Uh-oh, the spook begins. Uh-oh. It's been 2 months since the diagnosis. Rebecca is exhausted from chemotherapy, sick of both the side effects and its administration. She doesn't like her doctor or any of her nurses. She hates the hospital and is very outspoken about how much she doesn't want to be around real cancer patients. Rebecca doesn't want to feel unable. She's restless and very much in denial. It's Friday night. Rebecca wants to go out with her friends. I tell her that I don't think it's a good idea for her to be exerting herself so soon after therapy. I need this, she says. I'm scared that this will be too much for Rebecca, but I can't keep her from living her life. Let her go. Let her go out with her friends, okay? Shit's about to get spook. Oh, I tell Rebecca to have fun. I worry all night, but refrain from calling. At around midnight, Rebecca comes home early. I pretend to be asleep. She's wheezing. In the morning, I ask Rebecca about her night. She says that it was a little too much for her, but she's glad that she went. Thank you. You're welcome. You're welcome, Carrie. Don't even worry about it. Right. Thursday. Ooh, spoopy. Okay. Get out of bed. Come on. You gotta brush your hair, brush your teeth, put on some clothes. Just gonna sit back here. Ooh, we're gonna save. Okay. Saving! What is that? I think I see something by the bath plug. Is something leaking? It doesn't look like water. Should I go in? Ooh, Karen, what are we doing? We going in? Sure, let's go in. Ooh, Karen. We're going in. Who spilled Kool-Aid in the fucking shower? Who did it? It's very thick and consistency, almost as though it's oozing out of the plumbing as opposed to dripping or leaking. It looks black. Or maybe red? I don't know. I don't know what it could be. But it seems to be coming out of the shower head. Oof, girl, I told you to clean that. Why would you stick your head under there? You don't know what it is. You don't know what it is. Why would you stick your head under there? That makes no sense. Ooh, girl, ooh. That's gross. Disgusting. I don't know what was in the bath, but whatever it is, I need to forget about it. No, you really need to figure that out. Okay, that's weird. I can't be thinking about this right now. No, you really should. Not this week. Okay, well, I have some time before I leave for work. I can collect myself in the living room. I can pretend that everything is all right. All right, well, you do that. It isn't. Yeah, obviously. There's blood leaking out of your shower head. Hmm. All right, what are we doing over here? Let's look at some photos. Okay. Photos of me and Rebecca on the day we moved in. We probably shouldn't have moved into a house with such expensive rent, but Rebecca wouldn't stop talking about kids. Though Rebecca was set on living in the city, she also thought we'd need the extra space. I think we would have been good parents. Alright, well, I guess that doesn't matter now, huh? 'Cause she did.
That's so insensitive.
You right. Notebook. It's one of the notebooks Rebecca used to write her stories in. Oh my god. Come with us, page 1. Typical. That's the best way Jane could have described the night. The moon was out, lighting the room in a dull, familiar glow. The air was still, peaceful. It was the perfect conditions for sleeping. Many would agree with her, except the typical night had been disturbed in the most atypical way Jane could have ever imagined. Jane squirmed in the corner of her bed. She pressed herself against the headboard on the wall, hugging her knees. Most of all, she was trembling. It wasn't every night that you wake to find an expressionless child standing at the end of your bed. After all. Uh, let's see. The main question on Jane's mind was why? Why her? Why tonight? Why a child? Jane had never thought of herself as particularly special. Surely this only happened to those who warranted it. The weird and wonderful, not someone like her. Normal. That's the best way Jane could describe herself. Her name was Jane Audrey Phillips, named after her 2 grandmothers, naturally. She had brown, shoulder-length hair. It was practical. Brown eyes like her father. She wasn't particularly tall, neither particularly short. She did well at school. It led to a job that paid her bills. She neither liked her job nor did she dislike it. She had often thought she was a very neutral person. She didn't think much of anything. Not that she wasn't happy. She was, in a calm, contented way. She got on with things. Much like herself, the day could also be described as normal. She awoke 3 minutes before her alarm, as she usually did, ate a reluctant breakfast, and headed to work. Work was average. Papers needed filing, reports needed writing, minimal conversation, and a sticky R key on her laptop. Returning home, leftovers for dinner, calling her mum. It was the routine she'd had for years. She went to bed on time and fell asleep in a timely manner. Nothing indicated anything odd should have happened to her at all. And yet there the child stood, at the end of her bed, in her room. It was a girl. It was wearing a white nightgown reminiscent of times far gone. It had long, unwavering dark hair. Its face was pale and eyes were dark. It made Jane uncomfortable to think of the strange specter as a girl, so she didn't. A young girl wouldn't find herself in a stranger's room in the middle of the night. This was not a young girl. That was all Jane could figure out. The woman had already tried asking it for information, but it wouldn't speak. It didn't react at all. It just stared at her. There was a chill on her spine she was desperately trying to ignore. It almost as if someone was slowly dragging an icicle up her back. She pressed herself harder against the wall. The sensation didn't cease. Finally, the child parted its pale lips. Though this was once the outcome Jane was hoping for, somehow it only terrified her more. She shrunk further into the bed. She was shivering. Come with us. Jane sucked in her breath as the child spoke. Its voice was small and soft. It sounded like a little girl. It almost left Jane less afraid. Almost. But the eyes were so dark and the stare was so intense. Jane desperately wanted to look away or close her eyes, but she daren't. The woman was terrified if she broke eye contact the child would do something. She couldn't know what. The unease only grew. The child's face remained blank as it stared, though its head tilted to the side. It was almost cute. Only almost. Jane suddenly realized it was waiting for a response. The woman released the breath she didn't realize she was holding. Where? Her voice wobbled as she spoke, her lip left trembling. The child shook its little head, its dark hair shuffling over its chest. Come with us. Alright. And that's the story, huh? Cool. What's next? Let's look at some films. It's Rebecca's collection of horror movies. Well, some of them. Okay. TV.
Let me die. Let me die.
The brain that wouldn't die. I used to like this one. The film is about a mad scientist who manages to keep a woman's severed head alive for days. The woman begs for him to let her die. Unsurprisingly, I no longer care for it. Okay. Does it let me watch it? It doesn't seem like it. Next. Guess not. Alright, now what? I guess we're leaving. Alright, going to work. Bye! Hmm. Please finish report by end of tomorrow. Maybe you'd be happier working somewhere else. Passive-aggressive comments certainly aren't uncommon around here, but I don't think I could put this report off any longer. I'll do the bulk of the work tomorrow, or you could do the bulk of the work today and then have a little bit to do tomorrow. I can't do this right now. Literally, you can't do anything. Why don't you just quit? Just quit. You obviously don't like the job. I used to take comfort in working here after Rebecca's death. I could pretend that she was at home waiting for me just like before. A small part of me really believed that she would be. Days where I have to read a lot. I get tired. Oop, we home. Honey, I'm home. Hello. Did you make my sandwich? Miss Carrie's. Alright. You put the mayo on both sides of the bread. You put the lettuce and the tomato and the meats. But you gotta, like, go like this with the meats. Okay? You gotta make them all, like, stack up. You can't make them flat. Alright. See? You should have dealt with it. Now there's this in your tub. Whatever was leaking has not completely filled the bath. It looks like blood. I need to call somebody over to fix this. I don't want to. I don't want to have to deal with any of this. I can't deal with this. Not today. Not this week. Not anymore. Me ignoring all my problems. Alright, saving. Okay, what do you want to do? What do you want? You want to call? You want to not call? What do you want to do? Huh? Huh? You know what? Let's not. Let's just let it happen. Let's let it happen. I wonder what happens if we do that. Ooh! Oof! Bitch, I'm not ready. Ooh, hell no. I'm not ready for this. You come in by either. Karen? Oh, okay. Rebecca always insisted on living in the city. It's expensive. We could only afford a small house that's overpriced, ugly, and the landlord is a bitch. Were we to live anywhere else, this place would be a fraction of the rent I pay for it. I can get us somewhere bigger. Maybe then we could afford what Rebecca needs for recovery. I want to move. Making sure that Rebecca gets better as fast as possible is more important to me, but Rebecca insists that we stay. She says that the city is our home, that she doesn't want to leave our memories behind. It's a terrible place. We could save money. Let's convince her. Let's try to convince her. I tell Rebecca that it isn't her decision to make. I'm the one working to pay for our rent. She chose this house. It's my turn. Rebecca reluctantly agrees. She doesn't speak to me for hours until we get an urgent call about a test result. We drive to the hospital in silence. It's not good news. It's terminal. Rebecca is dying. Oh, okay. morning. Gotta get down and party. Okay. Thank you. Oh, are you late? Are you late? It's fine. Just quit your job. Quit the job. Move out of the apartment, house, whatever it is you're doing. What's in that bathroom? That's what I want to know. Oh, we saving. Okay. I think I heard something break in the kitchen. Is somebody in there? I don't have time for any of this. I'm already late for work, and if I don't finish my report today, I could lose my job. Good. You hate that job. Get a new one. Honestly, I'd rather be burgled. Should I go in? Ooh, we going in, bitch. What kind of door is that? Is that normal? There's nothing here. I was sure that I heard something break in here, but nothing seems to be out of place. Maybe it was nothing. Yeah, I bet it wasn't nothing. I bet it was something. It's definitely that toaster. It's a Decepticon. You should shoot it. What is that? Alana, I love you. Me and Rebecca used to write notes like this for each other. She used to leave them so that I would see them before I left for work. Is this some kind of joke? This isn't funny. Only someone who knows enough about me and Rebecca could do something so personal. Even the handwriting looks like Rebecca's. I'm so late for work. Just be late for work. Ooh, I bet you pissed her off now. Is it her ghost? Is that what's happening? We're haunted by our ex-wife's, our dead wife's ghost? Jenny! Wait, what? Jenny Loback? Hello. Thank you for that follow. I appreciate you. Uh-oh, what's happening at work? Oh. Yeah, you do that work. You could have done that work a week ago. I'm still changing. Okay, come on. Ooh, ooh. Hello? Nothing. Nobody seems to be there. I guess I'll hang up. Guess I'll die. Ooh. Home. That's my home phone number. Is somebody really inside my house? Are they really calling me from my own home? Surely this has to be some kind of joke. It's obviously a scam or I don't answer it. Obviously. I've gotten a phone call from my own number before. It's creepy as shit. I didn't answer it, obviously, because why would you answer yourself? I shouldn't answer it. They've broken into my home. I still really need to finish this report by the end of the day. But then maybe I should answer it. I have no idea who this person is or why they might be calling. Who knows who it could be? Who knows who it could be? Okay. YOLO, we're gonna answer it. Hello? What do you need from me, Cameron? Hello? Girl, I like your eyebrows. Heavy breathing. Strained, raspy, and painful breathing from what sounds like a woman. It's absolutely horrifying. It sounds so painfully familiar. So reminiscent of Rebecca's breathing over the last couple months of her life. Just as the cancer had begun to spread to her lungs. Who could be doing this? Why are they doing this? You just gonna leave your phone? Why are you like chilling in the house? What are you doing? Stay calm. Whoever is doing this is likely responsible for everything that's happened. This is just some terrible joke. I will just call the police, change the locks, and forget that any of this ever happened. Everything will be fine. Normal. Yet, not really. I don't think that that's really how that works. This is dumb, because I wouldn't go back to my house. I'd be like, I don't need my stuff. I don't need anything. I'm out. I don't care. Have the house, have my shit. I'm out. Bye. See, that's why you don't go back to your haunted house. I'm just gonna go up the stairs. See, that's where we're different. Because I would have turned my ass right back around and left the fucking house. It's dumb. I don't know why you would stay in a haunted house. Alright. The figure standing in the kitchen. Despite everything, it felt like Rebecca. But did it look like Rebecca? Okay, that's what I wanted. It isn't Rebecca, so that answers my question. Okay. Maybe if I hide here long enough, it will leave of its own accord. Okay. You're in denial. Okay. I'll stay here until it does. You're dumb. More reading. Rebecca has been in hospital ridden for a week now. Okay. She's on life support. She can no longer move or speak. She could barely breathe. We had to take her. She will never leave. The doctors say that she has only days left. She's going to die. Rebecca is in horrific pain. She frequently gestures to her life support. I know what she wants. Who? Do it. Do it. Are we gonna kill her? Are we not? I don't know. What would I do in that situation? If someone I knew was in extreme pain and they were going to die, without a doubt, um, let's do it. Let's kill her. I pull Rebecca's life support. Rebecca flatlines less than a minute later. It's what she wanted, but it isn't what I wanted. If I were to refuse, she would only spend her remaining days in agony waiting to die. But there was so much I wanted to say, so much I should have said to her. Her friends, her family, they never even got to say goodbye. I took that from them. I panicked, and now she's gone. You killed her. Yeah, well, she was in pain, alright? They should have already said their goodbye. She's been fucking slipping away for like months now. Jesus, fuck, you scared me. Get out of here. Get out of here. Saturday. Saturday, Cataday. What? Yeah. Get it? Get out of my face. Answer your phone. Or your whatever it is. You left the door open as you slept? You creep. Oh my god. I'm scared. I'm scared. I'm scared.
Where does that leave us, Doc? I wish I knew. I was looking to think Lem was telling the truth in Walker's store. He did see something that night. Something that had intelligence enough to seek him out and destroy him later. Sawyer claims to have killed the thing he saw, put a half a dozen rifle bullets into him. I've seen that old 44.
Alright, let's start with the bills. Overdue rent. Rebecca was always too focused on her writing to consider employment, but we managed. Until I was demoted. Well, yeah, because you never do your work. I like that outfit, though. That's cute as shit. It's a photograph of me and Rebecca at a party, just a few days after we'd met. I was a loner at university, spent a lot of nights at the student bar alone, hoping that I wouldn't be. One night I wasn't, and I met Rebecca. She very quickly introduced me to her circle of friends and invited me to a party later that week. We kissed for the first time that night. That's cute. Cute! Notebook. It's one of Rebecca's old notebooks. She used to write her short stories in these. Do you really think now's the time to be reading stuff? I mean, you literally had a random entity in your kitchen. Oh, Jesus. How much is there? Alright, give me a second. Hold on. Afraid. It was the only emotion Jane could put into words. The child never left. She stayed by Jane's side until the terrified woman left for work. Acting normal seemed quite the task for her. Jane returned home wishing that the child would be gone. Alas, she was sat quiet as ever at the kitchen table, turning her head to Jane as she entered the room. Jane spent the day trying to ask the child questions about her name, where she came from, who she was. The woman was met with silence each time. She gave up, continued as normal. If she ignored her, she might go away. But wherever Jane went, the child followed. Wherever Jane sat, the child sat against her. Ignorance wasn't an option. When nighttime fell, the child followed her closely throughout the routine, silent and silent and expressionless. As Jane hesitantly climbed into bed, the child stood where she had done the night before and pointed, knitting her brow once again. Carefully, Jane offered the other side of the bed to her. The child did as she wanted and lay next to the trembling woman. Jane pressed her back against the wall as the child stared at her from the pillow beside her own. They stared at each other for a while before the child sighed that uh, before the child sighed that soft little sigh again and closed her eyes. Jane didn't dare move her gaze for what felt like hours. Though the child didn't move, her eyes remained closed. She was softly breathing. Jane knew the child didn't eat, nor did it use the bathroom. There was very little reason to believe the child needed to sleep. Paranoid, the woman remained obstinately awake. Jane opened her eyes quickly, breathing rapidly as she realized she had fallen asleep. Oh, what? 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 Oh, they sat like that until morning. I was like, whoa, that does not make sense. No, that's that. The woman remained obstinately awake. Okay. Jane opened her eyes quickly, breathing rapidly as she realized she had fallen asleep. Got it. Okay. The child's eyes were open, though her position had not moved. It scared Jane to wake to those dark eyes staring at her once again. The room was still dark. It scared Jane to... Jane desperately tried to regulate her breathing. As her eyes swept the room, she let out a small shriek. Jane scrambled to sit up in the bed, pressing her back hard against the wall. There was a second child, stood at the foot of her bed, staring at her with the exact same dark eyes. This child appeared to be a boy. The hair was shorter, but just as dark and flat. It partially obscured his eyes. The child was also wearing a nightgown. They appeared to be a matching set, though they didn't acknowledge each other, only her. Jane very briefly tore her eyes away from the second child to look at the first. She was sitting now, too, but her gaze was fixed on Jane. "Come with us," they spoke in unison. The woman sucked in a breath and fought the urge to cry. She shook her head a little in response. Jane then felt the first child sit closer, her hair brushing against her arm. Jane looked down. The girl was staring right at her, leaning her head against her shoulder once again. "Come with us," she spoke, her voice soft. Somehow it calmed her. She felt herself able to breathe again. "Where?" she asked the girl. The child simply sighed and looked ahead, resting on her shoulder. Jane moved her gaze to the boy. He was staring at her. "Where?" she asked again. In response, he moved to where the girl stood the night before. Jane blinked at him and looked down to the bed. "Do you want to get on the bed too?" she asked, fearfully. He did so, leaning against the girl. Looking ahead as she did, all Jane could do was focus on taking breaths in and out. They sat like that until morning. Creepy. Creepy. Alright, put that down. Come on. Alright. TV. Attack of the Giant Leeches. This is one of Rebecca's old movies. She used to make fun of me for liking it. She said it was a really bad film. It is. Okay, we can check out a little bit of... This is an actual movie, I'll have you know. Attack of the Giant Leeches. So if you're interested in it, you could literally Google Attack of the Giant Leeches. I think it was made in like 1950 or something like that. I think I don't entirely remember, but it is a real movie. We're gonna skip that though, cause I don't want to watch it. It literally plays the whole movie, and the movie's like an hour long. So there's that. I gotta read a diary. Jesus. Entry number 1. Alana said yes. Imagining the Caribbean sun and sand almost makes me forget I'm dying. Ha! I'm sure I have time for Italy too. I could end up remaking the cheesy romance story I wrote in high school. Well, I could if Alana would agree to that. She's agreed to ditching treatment. I can't push my luck, though. Treatment is a fancy term for lying in a hospital bed for even longer than I would be, only to die anyway. Everyone dies, right? So why not do it in style? I'd rather be dying on a beach than in a gray hospital that smells of old people and vomit. I mean, true, I agree with that. If I wasn't dying, I might write about some dark abandoned hospital. Well, I could, except now I'll be laying on the beach or eating fancy in Rome. Fuck it. I'll die in a hospital bed. So I tentatively asked Alana to read my stories. Well, not all of them, just the ones I wanted to publish. I won't be able to publish them now. Oh well, she's the biggest critic I have anyway. She said she would. It makes me nervous. I don't know why. When we were studying, she used to read what I wrote, but that was for school. After I graduated and decided to write full time, she wasn't interested. Started off not having time nor interest for it, ended up shouting at me every time I mentioned it. Clearly, dying is the exception. I've always wondered what she'll say. I'll never find out. She said she was too busy. It was just 5 short stories. She could have read it in the evening. She doesn't spend with me. I know she hates seeing me like this, but she won't be seeing me at all soon enough. It would be nice if she could just think about me. Wow, that was the first night out I've had in so long. The usual gang asked me to go out with them for the first time in a while, since I told them I was on the treatment, really. They were a bit sympathetic and annoying at first, but once the alcohol kicked in, things went back to normal. I haven't been drunk in so long either. It was great. I could forget about all of this shit and just laugh and dance and do whatever the hell I want. I got tired and a bit wheezy. The treatment really does kick you in the balls. But I had a good time. I refused to let it bring me down, not even for 1 second. Alana was worried, I know she was, but I appreciate her accepting my choice. She doesn't always do that anymore. I think they'll ask me to join them more often now. They were so scared of it before, I think they were terrified they would break me. But they can try all they like, life can't get rid of me that easy. Holy fuck, how many are there? Oh, I didn't read that last one. Oops. I thought I could go back. I don't know why I thought I could go back. Okay, rose. A preserved rose. Rebecca gave this to me on the last Valentine's Day we ever spent together. And she said it would last forever so that she could make up for all the Valentine's Day she was going to miss. It was wilting. So it doesn't last forever. That literally contradicts what you just said. Trinket. It's the crystal graduation bear I gave to Rebecca when she graduated, where she had encouraged me to become more confident and outgoing. I'd pushed and tutored Rebecca to finish university. I was so proud of her that day, and so very grateful. Okay, well, you know. Ring. Let's see. It's the engagement ring that I used to propose a few weeks after we'd moved in together. It was a very cheap ring, but we didn't have a lot of money at the time. I was so worried that she didn't like it, or she wouldn't like it. I don't think she did, though she would never have admitted it to me. Okay, and next. Alright, leave. Uh-oh, what's gonna happen? Don't look away from the door. Like, don't. You don't know what's out there. You don't know where she went. You don't know what's going on. You let her, like, have free roam around the house. Why are you turning off lights? Every light in that house would be on. I'll have you know. Every single one. Fucking one. Every single one. Better yet, I wouldn't even be in the house. I'd been gone. I would have been gone. No, no, don't like it. I don't like it. I don't like it. You. It's waiting for me. What does it want? It hasn't done anything to me yet. It feels like Rebecca. How does that even... What do you mean it feels like Rebecca? What if it's okay? maybe I should approach it? But then maybe I should grab a knife from the kitchen first. Just to be safe. Alright, what the fuck? What are we doing? We grabbing a knife? Hell yeah, we're grabbing a fucking knife. Yeah, it's your damn mind, Biscuit. I'm grabbing a knife. You should have already had one on you. Scared me. Ooh, that sound scared me. Mm. Kill that bitch. I don't know what it is, but kill it. Oh, kill that biscuit. Kill it. Kill it with fire. Um, skirt. Stab that biscuit. Stab that biscuit. You come at me like that. Get out of here. Oof. Oof. And that was the end of that. Everything would be and remain the same. Everything would return to normal. Never changing. Okay. What? Bish what? Hello? Hello? Okay. God. God, I gotta read. Contented, Jane didn't realize she'd forgotten about work until midday. She had spent the day sitting around the dining table with the children. She'd prepared them all cereal, and it sat untouched in front of them. Jane found herself too exhausted to eat much herself. Clearly none of them had an appetite. She asked some questions, all five of them individually. She knew they looked the same, but it didn't mean they wanted to be treated the same. She identified her first little girl as the most confident. She had pointed and shown distress and resistance. Yeah, her first boy was attentive. He very occasionally would do something that his siblings would not. The twin girls were affectionate. They often stood close to one another, their skin, touching, though one was always the first to move closer when they briefly separated. The smallest boy was sweet. The way he looked up at her melted her heart a little. She smiled at them all in silence. She suddenly didn't care for work. They would only send her home. Jane found herself reluctant to leave the house at all. Finally, she stood and began collecting away the dishes. You can go sit in there now, she spoke lightly. They filed out of the room after her and gathered in the entrance of the living room, watching and waiting for her. She disappeared from their sight, and she noted that they stayed in the room as she had told them to. Jane allowed herself to smile a little. She never thought she'd become content. There was still fear, but it no longer gripped her. She was free. Jane returned to her children. They were gathered by the fireplace. She had lit the fire when they had first descended the stairs together. It warmed the room nicely, but they were standing too close. Their eyes were immediately on her as she entered the room, following her. Okay, you have random ghost kids that have spawned in your home. Okay, it started with one, then it was two. then you had twins, and then you have another kid. There are 4 children, ghost children, demon children, whatever, in your home, and you think that's okay. I don't understand. There's so many nopes in this story. Come away from the fire, she beckoned them over. They did as she said. You don't want to burn yourself. Come with us. They all spoke together. It startled her. It was the first they'd spoken outside of her bedroom. Jane swallowed down her fear and clasped her shaking hands together. I'll come with you if you tell me where. First off, don't say that. Why would you say that? Why would you say I'll come with you, but tell me where? Be like, tell me fucking where to go, or I'm gonna go get the fucking priest down the street, and we're gonna exorcise your bitch ass, okay? This is why I would live in horror stories and other people would die, okay? Because this is what people do, but that's not what I would do. I would live. Okay. Their heads all snapped to the fireplace and began filing one by one over to it. Come with us. They spoke again. Jane parted her lips to warn them of the fire once more, but was met with horror as the twin girls both climbed into the flames. Come with us. The duo spoke at her, returning their gazes as they crouched in the burning heat. No! Jane screamed at them. She pulled the remaining 3 of them away from the fire. They looked at her with bland faces. You'll burn! Jane tried to reach for the twins. It burned at her hands and her arms, but she continued to tug at them. Her heartbeat was loud in her ears. Her frantic movements were no use. The children only seemed to burn, their skin growing red and blistering. The dresses they wore were slowly eaten by the flames. If they jumped into a fire, it wouldn't be slow. Okay. Um, their hair also beginning to fall in locks. Jane dropped to her knees at the fireplace. She held out her raw hands. They didn't speak. They didn't scream. They just melted away. Right in front of her, Jane couldn't stop the tears that silently snaked down her cheeks. This is but one of 6 ends to Alana's story. Your choices incur real consequences, significantly altering your conclusion to Morph Girl. Will you find them all? Oh, okay, so that's the end of Morph Girl. It's not free. It's definitely not free. I don't remember how much it was, but it is on Steam. And I'm sure you could YouTube it if you're looking for more endings. I'm not going to play through any more endings because I remember playing through it 2 or 3 times and I couldn't really get any different endings, and I played it this time and did different things and I still didn't get a different ending. So I'm not sure what you're supposed to do to get those different endings. Honestly, I don't know. I really don't know. But yeah, that's Morph Girl. That's that. You know what I'm saying? That's what it is.